Kelly, beef prices are higher. I got that. How much more are we actually paying?
Yeah, you're really going to be treating yourself at the grocery store, Stu. Take a look at this. For ground beef, prices are up about 14% year over year, or I should say 13%, I believe. Roast, 14%, steaks, 17%.
Across the country, there's been no relief as food costs keep rising. A recent Associated Press poll shows more than half of Americans consider grocery costs to be a major source of stress.
CBS News correspondent Jolene Kent hit the aisles to find out what's driving up prices and how you can save.
A trip to the grocery store is stinging a little more at the checkout.
$16.99 for one pack of pecans. It's insane.
Yeah, it's bad. I can't believe how much some of this stuff costs, actually.
Overall, grocery prices have continued their upward march, rising nearly 3% compared to last year.
Food prices went up by 0.5% from July to August. That's the fastest monthly increase since fall of 2022. It was driven in part by commonly imported groceries.
Tariffs have a huge impact on grocery prices.
Food industry analyst Phil Lempert is known as the supermarket guru.
Why are we seeing these increases?
Number one is climate change. We can't grow our food where we used to grow it. Now it's had to move to Central and Latin America. Number two is a labor shortage. And then third is our tariffs.
Among the biggest price jumps, coffee up more than 20% compared to a year ago.
We got 50% tariffs on coffee from Brazil, and we import about 35% of our coffee beans unroasted from Brazil. Coffee's going to get more expensive.
Grocery prices, I mean, they've really been soaring since the pandemic.
Family finance expert Andrea Warrock says the biggest savings start right in your kitchen.
The number one thing that you can do right now is to create a meal plan.
Warrock says that cuts down on waste and keeps credit cards in check. Other tips to shop smart: stick to your grocery list. Compare prices at multiple stores. Choose store brands, which can often be 20 to 30% cheaper. And consider buying and cooking in bulk.
Don't waste food. Take doggy bags from restaurants. Use leftovers. Freeze leftovers.
And use those coupons and frequent shopper cards to stack up the savings. Jolene Kent, CBS News, Los Angeles.
Experts say to keep an eye out for shrinkflation as well. That's when companies put less in the package and either keep prices the same or slightly increase them.
Cupid doesn't lie, but you wanna unless you give it a try, give it a try. But you wanna unless you give it a try. Hey, girl, if I tell you I need you, that doesn't mean that I don't care.
What a...
Oh
God, it's still going. Okay. Yeah.
Don't you think that I will never be there here? Cupid.
Is that a real song? Is that a Drake song?
One of my favorite songs of all time.
Your songs?
Nope.
Who sings them?
112.
Let's let them sing it.
I'm so freaking pissed right now. This is bullshit.
East Coast have officially gone on strike as of today, Tuesday, October 1st. Today's video, I want to tell you 4 things. Number 1, what happened? 2, how this affects all of us. 3, should you go panic buy things right now? And 4, my prediction on when this is going to end. So here's what happened. The major ports in the East Coast and Gulf Coast, they have now shut down. It's over the labor contract. So why? It's because of pay raises. You know, they couldn't come to an agreement on pay raises and also automation. They want guarantees. Well, dock workers want guarantees that automation is not going to replace human workers. Okay, so they've been trying to work out a deal ever since June. They had a 6-year contract. That contract expired last night, September 30th, and they couldn't come to an agreement. Okay, so why is it just the East Coast and Gulf Coast? It's because those ports, they're represented by the ILA, International Longshoremen's Association. So the West Coast, they're represented by a different organization. Okay, so I want you to know that this strike, it is a major problem. And I'm gonna explain it to you simply. I've written down some stats to show you how severe the situation is. So we're talking—
When MAGA loses Fox News, you know they're fucked.
Our costs are going to continue to go up because affordability is a big issue for American consumers. I was just at the grocery store this morning. There were 2 steaks. Yeah. It was $33 for 2 steaks at the grocery store. And these weren't fancy steaks. They were just $32.
I gotta say, in a world where grocery prices keep going up and life is so fucking unaffordable, I saw this press release. Here in Atlanta, the first municipal grocery store opened. And if you don't know what a municipal grocery store is, here's Zoran Mamdani from New York telling us what it is.
Grocery prices are out of control. Some stores are even using dynamic pricing, jacking up the cost over the course of a day, depending on what they can get away with. It doesn't need to be this way. I'm Zoran Mamdani, and as mayor, I will create a network of city-owned grocery stores. It's like a public option for produce.
Basically, city-owned grocery stores that could be put in a place where there could be food deserts and also in places where they can revitalize the economy of those areas. Matter of fact, the municipal-owned grocery store in Atlanta is slated to serve more than 5,500 people per month and is estimated to have a total economic impact of $6 million a year for that community. So I decided to pull up to the Azalea Fresh Market here in Atlanta to see exactly what it was giving. This is a municipal-owned grocery store. They get a bad rap, but what does it look like on the inside? Is it clean? Do you have good produce? Do you have fresh food? You judge for yourself. I was there, and I can tell you that everything was fresh. Now, the question was, are the prices pricing the way that they need the motherfucking price? I just don't know where you'll pay $1.85 for a quarter of milk. If you don't drink fat-free, you can get the whole fat milk for $2.39 or 2% for $2.19. When we talk about necessities, we also talk about bread. I don't know where you're gonna find $1.95 for bread. And it's not just a grocery store that you can get fresh food for low prices. As a matter of fact, it's 2 floors. On the second floor, there is a seating area where you can sit down and actually enjoy an array of delicious prepared food, hand-rolled sushi from Atlanta's High Roller Sushi, and an in-store coffee shop by locally owned Dope Coffee. Municipal-owned grocery stores for the motherfucking win.
Mr. President, middle-class Americans are taking it on the chin. You ask anybody buying groceries, and you start talking about high grocery prices, their heads just start to nod. American farmers can't hire workers to pick their crop. Farm products are being tariffed. Beef and coffee prices are through the roof. For the first time ever seen since it's been tracked, ground beef is over $6 a pound, and it keeps rising.
So I saw a YouTube video about a woman going shopping, I believe at Walmart, and finding a rump roast that was extremely high priced. And this is the beginning. This is the beginning of food being not affordable for the average person. Janet and I eat very, very plainly. Rice, beans, vegetables, all that we've canned. Potatoes, sweet potatoes. We put, and bread and just common things. I did get some beef the other day to make a meatloaf, and I got 3 packs together at Costco, and that was pretty expensive. And I'm making a meatloaf to freeze dry also.
I just spent $72 on stuff to make chili, and that's going to feed my family maybe 2 nights. $72. Y'all going to have to figure something out up there in Washington, D.C.
So are you conservative Republicans and MAGA ready to concede the idea that regulation is sometimes necessary? Because aren't you the party that wants to minimize government and let the free market do its thing? Well, this is what happens when you try and let the free market do its thing. Corporate greed knows no bounds, my friend. You see, because after COVID and supply chain issues forced companies to raise their prices due to the high demand and low supply, they soon realized that people were willing to pay those higher prices. And then when supply increased again and we slowly started getting back to normal, they kept the prices high. Because why the hell wouldn't they? They had all just recorded record-breaking profits in the midst of a fucking pandemic. Why on earth would they lower them now that the economy is getting back on its feet, especially considering that there's nobody willing to hold them accountable? Because conservatives love free market and less regulation. I'm sorry guys, but to honestly think that by giving companies breaks, they will choose to do the right thing and pass along the savings instead of just pocketing the difference is foolish and unrealistic. Are you finally getting it now?
Guys, it's literally happening. I'm going to show you what somebody just posted, and I want you to guess who posted it. Pause to read. If you guessed Amy Kremer, you would be correct. But if you're like most people like me, who the hell is Amy Kremer? She is the founder of Women for America First. And she hosted through that organization the Stop the Steal rally in Washington, D.C. that culminated in the January 6th attack on the Capitol by Trump supporters. Prior to that, in 2016, she ran 2 political action committees to help get Donald Trump elected. And prior to 2016, she was high up in the Tea Party movement. And she just posted that. And if you don't understand how important this is, let me enlighten you. She's about as deep as somebody can get within the MAGA cult. Additionally, she is a leader and conspiracy pusher within the MAGA cult. She is a power broker within the MAGA movement, and she just posted that.
A little bit of inside information that's kind of a secret, and this is for anyone who likes to shop for pretty much anything. This is the most expensive time of year to do your shopping. period. And the retailers would have you believe otherwise. But right now, if this is on your For You page, end of September through early October, most expensive time of the year. And I have been studying shopping data and trends for the last 20 years. That's my whole career. So I can tell you without hesitation that this is not the time to be shopping, because all of these big retailers, your Amazons, your Walmarts, your Targets, Nordstroms, like it doesn't matter, high, low, and everything in between, they use the average sales price for the last 4 to 8 weeks, depending on the retailer, to come up with their Black Friday, Cyber Monday pricing. And that's just a few weeks away. We're in that time crunch period right now, which means the prices now have to be like really high, really inflated. So when they come to you at the end of November with like 50% off, 80% off, whatever, it looks really good and really enticing. There are a handful of exceptions. You'll find some good deals at the October Prime Day, and especially from these like small independent retailers, if you see a sale or a coupon code or like any of that stuff or a promotion, those are going to be good because they are only competing against themselves. But if you shop at the big like multi-brand retailers, this is the most expensive time of year.
I'm at Walmart right now. Tell me if I'm tripping, but the price of meat has significantly gone up. Like, are we dead serious right now? Like, are we dead ass? Is this real life? I am so shocked. Like, I am so shocked. Is this real life? This is expensive.
Okay, y'all, I just left the grocery store and I just had to pull around the corner and park for a minute because I am so confused about why I just paid $67 at Kroger. Okay, y'all, all I got was a salad topper, 2 cans of kidney beans, 2 cans of chickpeas, tortillas, yogurt, a garden salad, baby portobello mushrooms, some panko breadcrumbs, some tiger seasoning, avocado oil, and some buffalo wing sauce, red onions, avocados, and a blood orange. I didn't get no meat, y'all. And my grocery bill was $67. I'm so ready to leave here. So you choose to eat right, okay? Then you have to pay the cost for, choosing to make a better choice. It's gonna cost you either way. But it's like, y'all, I only have 4 little bitty bags over here. Y'all had to come and sit, look. I had to come and sit in front of this water and think about it, because what are we doing? These are my bags right here, y'all. They sit in the front seat. I have to just come think about it because I'm over it.
This is concerning. Walmart raises prices by 45% in 30 days due to magnitude of the tariffs. Take a look. For example, this Fisher-Price baby toy went from $5.88 to $19.97. It's like double the price. Here's another example. A baby-born doll jumped from $34.97 in March to $49.97 in May. And in a third case, a left-handed fishing reel sold by Walmart went from $57.37 to $83.26. And of course, look who's price matching? Target. Now, Walmart said pricing fluctuations are a normal course of business and are influenced by a variety of factors. They said we remain dedicated to managing inventory and reducing expenses to maintain everyday low prices. Those prices aren't low. Walmart's even said that they've sourced about 60% of what it sells in the US from US suppliers in an effort to reduce its reliance on Chinese goods. But a 38% price hike since May 21st? That's nuts. I've even seen videos where Walmart employees are showing clothing that don't even have price tags on them. They removed all the price tags. This is how bad it's gotten since the tariffs. All I can say is it's going to be an expensive crate.
The price for 1 pound of ground beef is now more than the federal minimum wage, guys. How crazy is this? And like, how far are they going to let these grocery prices get before they realize that regular people can just not afford this crap? Like, right now, let's do a comparison. Let's use like a couple big chains at where I live. I'm on the West Coast. So we've got like Albertsons, we've got Vons, we've got Stater Brothers, which I think is kind of like a West Coast thing. All of those are about twice the price of an Aldi, a Walmart, a Winco, a Safeco, or a Heb, or like a Food for Less if you have that. So I will tell you that of all the places that I'm shopping right now, Aldi happens to be my favorite. And no, they don't have everything. And Aldi is like the great value brand at Walmart. That's all they have in the whole store is the Aldi brand. So there's not as much selection, but I like a lot of the stuff that they have there. So I did a price comparison out here. Stater Brothers, which is down the street from me, has amazing butcher department. The meat department is great. So I went and bought my weekly groceries there, $240.
Our economy is either going to collapse in the next 6 to 8 months or we're going to print trillions of dollars into our economy. I want to tell you exactly why. I'm not going to edit this. There's 3 F's. The foundation, the fuel, and the fire. I'm going to tell you who's holding the match and who's putting the fuel there, but let's talk about the foundation real quick. It's the 3 Ds: the debt, the deficit, and the dollar. The debt is growing, the deficit's growing, and the dollar is weakening. It had the worst opening 8 months of a year in the last 52 years. Dollar is weakening. What does this mean? It means that your dollar is worth less. All while a part of that foundation, we've had 5 years of consistent cumulative inflation that we believe the Fed is underreporting, and a job market that is waning. Job market specifically for college grads now showing that a 9% unemployment rate for those with a degree is normal, and a 49% underemployment rate for those with a degree under 30 is normal. And to finalize the foundation, we also know that everything is just generically more expensive, whether you're getting insurance, a car, or a home. Now the fuel. Now I made a video back in April on Liberation Day, actually the day after Liberation Day, having watched it, realizing I just watched the first domino fall in what could be the largest economic collapse we've ever seen. And the reason for that is countries, consumers, and companies. Countries got a slap in the face collectively all at the same time with this new thing that they had no clue was coming, or at least at this amount. Companies now have to pay a higher amount to import these goods, leaving them less liquidity to potentially create jobs, to potentially lower prices. They have to make as much money as they can because they're paying a higher price too. And the last, the consumer. The consumer is going to be paying more because it is going to get passed through the consumer. And in a world where inflation is high and wages are low, this is detrimental. Now clock this one in with me because this is the most important part. Since Liberation Day in April, our bond market auctions have been weak at best, especially long-term debt. And if you don't know what a bond auction is, it's how people buy bonds. If you don't know what a bond is how we package our debt for investors. And if you don't know what that means, just Google what is a bond. You'll find a great YouTube video. Bonds determine rates for you and I. You want a car? You want a credit card? You want a home? You want to finance a new leg because one fell off in a car crash? You're going to have to look at the residential rates or the retail rates to see what your interest is going to be. And the way that these banks figure out these retail rates is by going off of the bond market. When the bond market goes up, so do rates for everything we do. Now, if you've been watching the Federal Reserve meetings, don't worry, I have if you haven't. They have been talking about a Fed rate cut, and in September we finally got one. But did you know that the 30-year mortgage rate and car rates actually went up after this Fed rate cut? One of the biggest pieces of fuel is right here. The Fed cuts the rate, but 10, 20, and 30-year bonds go up. So how do they fix this problem? Well, if you ask a free market economist, the market will fix the problem. The market will fix it in time and allow for this topple over effect to happen because there's too much wealth at the top and it needs to be redistributed. But what we saw in 2008 was they invented this thing called quantitative easing to prevent that very thing from happening. See, in 2008, it wasn't just a housing market crisis. In fact, it was a bank failure. And a bank failure is what caused the market crash. You'd be blown away to know how Jeffrey Epstein's involved in all that, but that's for another video. The point of it being is when the market crashed, banks froze up. They weren't lending to one another. They also weren't lending to people like you and I, and we didn't want to get the loans. Why? Because nobody had jobs and rates were too high. See, the Fed started to lower their rate, but what happened to the bond market? The bond market actually went up. This is the only other time we've seen in history recently where that has happened. And the reason it happened is think of yourself as the bond investor. A bond is you getting paid a yield based off the likelihood that at the length of this yield, 10, 20, 30 years being the maturity date, that at the end of that 10, 20, or 30 years, our economy is still strong, our dollar is still strong, and we're still trucking along. So a lot of investors have a little bit of a, I don't know, about that very thought process. We're seeing that in the weakness in the bond auctions. This is a very nonpartisan way of looking at the status of our economy. So we've had the foundation. We know where we sit. There's a lot more we could go through. We've talked a little bit about the fuel. What's laying on the ground right now? We have people that can't afford anything, banks that are starting to get crunched, and a market that we can't get into because rates are simply too high. So what's going to happen next, I believe, are the three options for a fire. Bank failure, total collapse, or 2008, in March, Bear Stearns toppled. In September of 2008, Lehman Brothers toppled. This bank failure happened because they were not liquid enough. They went solvent. It means they didn't have enough money per the amount of money they owed every other direction to people like you and I and their investors. Our Federal Reserve and government stepped in to help Bear Stearns from falling, but couldn't do the same for Lehman Brothers, leading to the credit crisis we went through from 2008 to 2009. Right here, and I'll tell you what these yellows are here in a second, but right here is when we had our first bank crisis. Here's where we had our next. And you can see that right after that, this is the 30-year bond. Why did rates drop after our economy just showed some of its weakest potential signs ever? Two giant banks collapsed, but yet the bond investors were like, actually, we want less money back on our investment. We think you guys are doing great. Well, bank failure was also what happened in 1929 that caused the 30s Great Depression. Bank failure is often the trigger mechanism that lights the fire. Now, number two, an economic collapse. Could we get to the point where the dollar is so untrusted, becomes so weak, that we have to completely change systems, that we have to transition to a blockchain currency, a gold-backed, Bitcoin-backed currency, because our currency is no longer what people want? I think that could potentially happen. The reason being is because more and more people don't believe in our dollar, more and more people don't believe in our debt, and more people are watching our deficit gap grow, all while the wealth gap grows, and nothing is being done for the next generation to be able to do anything about it. Could be an economic collapse, but number 3 is most likely the fire that is going to be lit. Number 3. Money printing. See, behind me, again, this is when we had our first couple bank crashes, and then the bonds went down. But what I didn't tell you the first time is that these yellow highlights are the 3 times that our Federal Reserve stepped in to buy bonds. Now, let me explain this. When the bond rate starts going high and they want to curtail the supply, what they do is they print money and go buy. That all rhymed. So what they did after these 2 bank failures, as we could see the 30-year started to go up, they began printing money, but not just to throw into the economy. I want to be very clear here. There's bank bailouts, which did happen, and that is congressional. It comes from our government. Our legislative branch and executive branch orchestrate those bank bailouts, and that very much did happen. Look at TARP, look at Henry Paulson. That meeting's crazy. But this is only QE. Federal Reserve money printing. Now, this isn't just money printing. It's not going to the mint. It's digitally made new, and then they use that digitally new money to buy up bonds. But why do they specifically buy bonds? Think of supply and demand. If nobody wants our bonds because they don't trust our economy, what is the one way that we could get the bond to go down, the rate to go down? What would you do if you were selling a banana and you had 20 people that wanted to buy your one banana? You really have 2 options. Either sell more bananas, get more supply to feed the demand, or raise your price and let them fight for it. We saw that happen in the housing market not too recently. So right now, what the Federal Reserve was doing in 2008 was deciding to take bonds off the market so that less bonds were available, thus making them more valuable. Are you catching that? They printed trillions to buy up these 30-year bonds so that the yield would go down and the market would unfree. We see it didn't work perfectly because it came right back up. So what did they do just so recently after that? They printed money again, QE2, the rate went down, but shortly after that, right back up. It came down a bit, but then started to seep back up. So what'd they do again? They printed money. We're not talking a few $100s or millions in money printing. They printed trillions of dollars of money. That is a million millions. You could buy every NFL, NBA, MLB, and soccer team multiple times with $1 trillion, and they printed multiple trillions. So the foundation's been set. The fuel is laying on the ground floor of the kitchen right now, and it's just a matter of who drops the match. Do we go into bank failure and that triggers some actions like money printing or bailouts? Do we wait too long and actually suffer a full systemic economic collapse or detethering, allowing someone for like a China to step in as the world's #1? Or do we prolong the debt-fueled economy by printing more money to suppress the bonds, open up more credit, more debt for you and I, and allow billionaires to get even more wealthy? I made this prediction back in April, and I'm restating it right here. I said 12 months then, I'm saying 6 to 7 now. We are right on pace for something to happen, something to crack, and it's going to print millions into our economy. And what that means for you is if the dollar weakens, hold gold, hold Bitcoin. If it all falls apart, just have a good shack in the woods. And if we print just a ton of money and expand our monetary base, everything asset-wise will inflate. Hold stocks, hold housing, hold something that's going to grow with it. If there's anything historically factual that we can look at, is anytime our economy has looked a meltdown economically in the eyes, we usually print money and just have a melt up. This has been a long video. I believe this is going to happen. Stay prepared.
Have you guys heard about the very concerning things that are supposedly going to happen in October? Well, I have you covered because I met with the team yesterday, and first things first, apparently there's a major price hike coming on all the food and grocery items. We had tips sent in from people in the food distribution network. Apparently, countries with all these tariffs don't even want to send certain items over to the US to be put on the shelves, and there's going to be a major shortage of items. So prices are expected to go up. That's not all. We also got a major tip about this prediction for October 7th. Now, October 7th has been referenced many times, especially if you've seen the Sean Ryan podcast with Sarah Adams. What's going on is there's apparently a terrorist organization that has agents or cells that are in the U.S. ready to strike, and that they've been postponing it to October 7th. We're going to give you more updates as soon as we can. this is concerning. Get ready.
Hey, all you geniuses who voted for a convicted felon because you were so upset about the price of groceries. Well, guess what? Your groceries are about to get a whole lot more expensive. Check this out. Turns out that farmers in California, you know, that state you hate because Fox News told you to, well, that state produces a whole heck of a lot of the food you eat. Anyway, farmers in that state are reporting that a lot of the people who pick the crops aren't showing up for work, meaning they're not picking the crops. Why? Well, because a lot of those people, a whole lot of those people, are undocumented immigrants. And they are afraid that they are going to be rounded up by our new fascist president. And so they're not showing up out of fear. And those crops, well, they're being left to rot in the fields. So what's going to happen? Well, the price of your groceries is going to go through the roof. So congratulations. You voted for a fascist authoritarian criminal because you were upset at the price of groceries, and now you just guaranteed that you're going to pay even more for groceries. Stupidity has consequences.
60% of the American public is about to lose everything they have. People living paycheck to paycheck are about to go broke. The GDP numbers came in yesterday, and of course the economy receded, which I predicted 2 months ago, and people laughed. Mark my words, the second quarter is going to be far worse. Tariffs on Chinese products at 145% are about to kick in, which means everything you buy from China on Amazon or elsewhere is about to go through the roof. Grocery store shelves are starting to empty at Walmarts across the country, and of course grocery prices continue to soar. People who have been financing groceries on credit are starting to default on those payments. We are about to see an economic catastrophe. If you're in this 60% that has little or no money, please stop spending money. Protect your family. Trump does not care about you. Even if you voted for him, he's a billionaire. He won't suffer, but you and your family will. Please protect yourself.